For my third interview, I talked with a guy named Trip Couch, who is recruiting coordinator and assistant coach for the University of South Carolina's baseball team. As a college student, he attended the University of Houston in Texas with the intention of going into hotel restaurant management, a totally different direction from recruiting baseball players. Long story short, he was a baseball player on the University of Houston's team and knew he wasn't a good enough player to go as far as he dreamed. Well, with the help of the coaches and staff, he showed to them that he would be a great player recruiter. And Mr. Couch told me that he's not good at many things in this world, but picking baseball players, now that's what he is good at. And soon after, others saw that as well. So when he got out of college, the University of Houston's baseball team hired him as a recruiting coordinator, where he worked for about a decade and then became a pro scout for the Arizona Diamondbacks and stayed there for another 10 years. Then went back to the recruiting coordinator position for Houston for about 6 more years before he landed at the University of South Carolina, where he's worked now for 4 years. But when I asked him how he got to where he is today, he told me it has everything to do with passion. He told me working in the sport industry is very exciting and fun, but if you're only in it to do the bare minimum, you're not going to go anywhere. And he never did the bare minimum. Mr. Couch told me he gave 110% for everything he did in the beginning of his career and currently, like reaching out to the people in college that could help him succeed and giving up his spring break or time off to show people he wanted to be there and learn, even if he wasn't to be noticed. And he told me to do the same. As a recruiter, a lot of what Mr. Couch does is searching to find where players are and going out to watch them play. He said there are a lot of days in the summer where he will start watching games at 8 a.m. in the morning and might not get done until 1 a.m. the next day because when he is finished watching one game, he could either be on the road to the next ballpark or getting on a plane to fly across the country to watch more players. When I was asked how he finds his prospects, he says through years of contacts from networking and going to summer ball programs. Not only that, but through pro scouts, the internet, Twitter, as well as the film that coaches post on their team websites. When scouting a prospect, he evaluates them by skill sets, tools, whether they can run fast or throw hard, but also if they have power as a hitter, just to name a few. But after the evaluation from scouting, it's the decision of if you like the player or not, and if you should try to recruit him. There aren't many challenges in recruiting players, but Mr. Couch said the only real difficulties are when you get the recruiters who cut corners and don't work within the same framework of rules as most recruiters do. Because most families don't know what the rules are when it comes to recruiting and don't always know the good information from the bad. An example of this Mr. Couch shared is one guy selling a product or service for a lesser price than the competitor, and it doesn't last as long or work as good as the competitor who may be a little more expensive. Which is the same for baseball. They may give a kid a good deal and give them more scholarship money to play, but doesn't end up succeeding or playing, etc. When it comes to players wanting to play on a college team, college coaches normally do the reaching out. Mr. Couch said the players who know they are being scouted by recruiters don't need to reach out because they have already been talked to by many colleges. But then they also get many emails from players who may be able to play baseball at some college, but just don't meet the criteria for the high level of competitivity for an SEC school. He also said some players send in film to them just because of who they are as a school and how well known and successful the team is. What I found to be the most important in my interview with Mr. Couch was how big of a subject player appearance is in baseball. It's not just about how well the individual can play, but how they act and carry themselves on and off the field. This has been a tough one for coaches recruiting during COVID because they weren't able to go watch athletes play in person and could only evaluate them through video. Attitude is a big thing in baseball because if a player treats his teammates with disrespect in a dugout or gets angry and throws his bat, that can be a red flag no matter how well they can play. In the end, I learned so much from Mr. Couch and just don't have enough time to cover it all. But the one thing I would do differently would be to ask more questions about how he got into professional scouting for Major League Baseball and the qualifications needed to become a pro scout. Additionally, kind of a fun fact I learned in my interview, the University of South Carolina currently has 3 eighth graders committed to play for them when they become freshmen in college. How wild is that?